One thing I've not been shy about is my views on XL bully dogs, and I strongly support the ban. I think it's one of the better things the Sunak government has done, although I don't think it goes far enough, and I think it was long overdue. Um, Now, let me just make a quick caveat, as I always say in these videos: any dog can bite. I get that, and that's true, but there is an empirical reality that this breed, XL bullies, are clearly more dangerous than others. They're ticking time bombs. And when you consider so many people, it's over a dozen now in the last couple of years alone, have been killed, not including the injuries, killed by these animals, then it is delusional nonsense to claim that the breed is irrelevant. It really, really is. I'm going to read out a piece about the latest fatal mauling. Grandmother in Essex. This is the Daily Mirror report. So if you bear with me, it's not too long. This has been reported in other sources as well. Uh, the report's by Adam Aspinall, so bear with me. Esther Martin's daughter has told how the owner of the dogs that mauled her mother to death shrugged off warnings that they were dangerous, saying, "Nobody can tell me what to do with my dogs." That's the attitude this guy had. Kelly Fretwell, 46, said there were 8 XL bullies in the house at the time of the attacks, 6 puppies and the 2 adult dogs which killed Esther as she visited her grandson. And in another report, apparently the woman had been concerned about these animals. Kelly said there could have been 2 victims. My nephew had to witness all this violence. He could have been killed as well. Kelly's sister Sonia Martin told how their mother had previously expressed concerns about the animals. Sonia, well, I saw it in this report. Sonia was told the puppies had started fighting, and Esther had been told by the dog's owner to put a broom in among them to distract them. Sage advice. Sonia said that's when she was attacked by the other dogs. The owner was named locally as Esther's son-in-law, Ashley Warren, a rap artist, calling himself Wireless Man. Uh, they say don't judge a book by its cover, but I'm sorry. In November, he posted an ad selling XL bully pups at £500 each. Esther, 68, was visiting her 11-year-old grandson in Jaywick, Essex, from her home in Woodford Green, East London, when the dogs turned on her on Saturday at around 4 p.m. When the boy ran from the house screaming for help, neighbours desperately tried to stop the attack. Chief Superintendent Glenn Pavlin yesterday praised their courage. He said, "I would like to thank local people who tried to get into the house to help Esther Martin. You should be proud." He also praised police officers who arrived within minutes of receiving reports of the attack and went into the house to destroy the animals. He said when 6 police officers entered the house, their priority was to keep their community safe. Both dogs were destroyed in the house. Sadly, nothing could be done to save Mum of 4, Esther, who was pronounced dead at the scene. Chief Superintendent Pavlin said the 39-year-old man from Jaywick was arrested on suspicion of dangerous dog offences. Police confirmed there was a familial relationship between the victim and the suspect. Chief Superintendent Pavlin declined to comment on the breed of the dogs. He said, "We are working with experts to establish this. We will establish the facts and keep the community updated." But bear in mind, the family themselves have said the daughter, I believe, Sonia, 47, of Chesterfield, Derbyshire, claimed the animals were XL bullies. Now that's a family relation, so this isn't idle speculation online. I think it seems in all likelihood that's what they were. So it's not just people are guessing that's what they were, as Bully XL apologists will often say. That's coming from the family themselves. The police are being formal about it, but I think that's almost certainly what they were. A breed banned in England, Wales from February the 1st unless the owner has a valid certificate of exemption. And if they don't have that, they have to report themselves to the police at this point. Sonia said they were XL bullies. There were 8 in the house, 6 puppies and 2 adults. Her grandson came running out shouting for help. "We would like to thank all the neighbours who tried to help our mum." Kelly paid tribute to Mum Esther, a retired Tesco worker, saying she was amazing. She was retired and trying to get her life back on track after the passing of my sister 2 years ago. She came to visit my nephew and now she is dead. The family found out what had happened from police at around 10 p.m. on Saturday. Kelly said, "This is a very distressing time for our family. If someone knocked on your door at night to say that your mum has been mauled to death, would you believe them? Since the XL bully ban came into force this month, police can seize the dogs if the owners do not have the exemption certificate or do not comply with the range of restrictions. Owners can get a criminal record at non-limited fine. I'm not sure that goes far enough. I think, I feel that breeders, for example, I think they should be treated the same as drug dealers. I really do. Because as far as I'm concerned, these dogs are ticking time bombs. They're basically breathing weapons. I don't think there's any moral difference between a breeder of XL bullies and a drug dealer or some thug selling weapons to teenagers. I really see no difference. Um, Now, interestingly, I've just come across a report where this guy is now claiming the breed needs to be wiped out. This is coming after his attitude saying, "No one can tell me what to do about my dogs." Let me quote that exactly. Yeah, nobody can tell me what to do with my dogs. That is the typical attitude these people have. And I have to say, I'm yet to come across a Bully XL owner or breeder who isn't either a criminal thug or an irresponsible idiot who is in denial of the obvious. I mean, that's a generalization. It is a generalization, but it's also my honest observation. I'm yet to see someone who is either an owner or a breeder who acknowledges that there is a problem. And I'm sick and tired of this delusional, dishonest argument that the breed is irrelevant. And the RSPCA, their position on this to me is very disappointing, and I won't support them so long as they oppose breed specific legislation. Breed specific legislation may not be perfect, but it absolutely has context and it absolutely makes sense. Now, there was a poll done on YouGov, and this was the question. This week it was done. Do you support or oppose a ban on XL bully dogs? By the way, I'm looking online at this source, and yes, it is an anti-bully source, but it's from YouGov, which is, it's not their own poll, it's YouGov that has done this. It being illegal to own an XL bully in England and Wales without an exemption certificate. Strongly support the ban, 44%. Tend to support, 24%. So that's veering towards being for the ban is 68%. Tend to oppose, 10%. Strongly oppose, 9%. That'll be the strongly oppose is obviously going to be owners and breeders. That's 19%. Don't know, 12%. But 68% to 19%. And if you half the don't knows, say 6% each, then it gets into 74% to 26%, roughly speaking. Clearly, there is a consensus against these animals, and there's been other polls that have, concurred with that. In the beginning, it wasn't that way. People were regurgitating that line about, oh, it's not the breed. But I think as people have seen more and more attacks that have been connected to these animals, they've woken up and realized there is indeed a problem. When I see owners come out with excuses, they'll say things like with the rehoming, for example, oh, the rehoming hasn't went well. My little Tyson or my little Psycho needs to decompress and he needs to ascertain his dominance and it's not going well. And they will come out with nonsense like that. Or one of the most disgusting things I've seen is Bully XL owners actually blaming the victims, literally. Now, Scotland hasn't quite followed England and Wales yet, but it looks like Humza Yousaf is doing a U-turn, a positive U-turn, and he will indeed introduce a ban in Scotland as well. And I'm not sure what the situation is in Northern Ireland. Of course, they have had the political instability for the last 2 years, but hopefully now that the Ulster Assembly is back on track, then that will be Northern Ireland Assembly, I should say. Then they'll also follow suit with the other home nations. Um, it's so depressing to think of this, and think of the little boy in this case. He's going to be traumatized for life, having seen his grandmother mauled to death. The poor woman had expressed concerns, and imagine the last moments of your life are being torn apart by a vicious beast. That's really what it comes down to. These animals are thoroughly dangerous. I mean, when you consider that they have killed grown men, think of what they would do to a little child. It's terrifying, actually. And I've often spoken out against the justice system in England and Wales. Well, one other area I think that it's far, far too lenient is reckless dog owners. I've spoken out against violent youth gangs. I've spoken out against reckless drivers. And I'm not talking about someone doing 25 miles per hour in a 20-mile per hour zone. I'm talking about, someone drink driving in the wrong direction Well, reckless dog owners, it's to me it's the same principle. They are thugs, and I'm sick and tired of our justice system giving them a tap on the wrist, a fine and a warning. This ban is welcome, but I think it should go further. I think those that do have the exemption, there should be strong caveats. For example, they cannot be in a house with children or vulnerable people. I really believe that there should be strong caveats with that. Um, and now that there is a law that they have to be muzzled in public, of course there'll be criminals that ignore that. I get that, but I mean, some of them are so pathetic. They'll even wear. I saw one guy wearing a muzzle in a pub for solidarity. It's it's utterly pathetic. But for the point of information, if you see that, it's 101. You can call the police on 101. But there's been cases before. I'm afraid I'm not overly confident in the police, and this is not to the police in this case responded quickly, but there's been other cases where people have told the police about dogs acting dangerously, and basically nothing's been done. Now, this guy, Ashley Warren, has been released on bail. That's when he's deemed not to be a threat to the public. But to me, his attitude speaks for itself. The fact that he said, no one can tell me what to do about my dogs. He featured his dogs in rap videos. Why does that matter? The whole point of rap is about bravado, right? So I do read into that, actually. Um, I've got no respect for Bully XL owners. I really call that judgmental, call that snobby, whatever. I don't care. I really don't care. I care about public safety, and it scares me. I mean, I haven't directly seen these animals, but I'm a grown man, and I'd be scared of them. So imagine what they would do to a little child. It's terrifying. And to think the last moments on of life that this woman had was being mauled by these beasts. It's terrifying. I give the Daily Mirror credit. They've been very energetic in campaigning for this. You can see the little logo there. Uh, but this thing about don't blame the breed, blame the owners, I'm sick of that narrative because it's false. When you have one breed that is empirically responsible for so many attacks, and I know initially there's speculation, but then I'm talking about confirmation after the fact, at least a dozen in the last few years, which accounts for about half of all fatal dog attacks in this country. You cannot tell me that an XL bully is just the same as a Labrador or a Greyhound or a Golden Retriever. They just aren't. And I'm not just talking about deaths. You factor in all the injuries, you factor in other dogs being mauled. Um, these animals are ticking time bombs. And I think that, you know, with the ban, I'm not so naive that I think it will automatically stop attacks. There probably will be more attacks in domestic settings now, as this was, and the victims will probably be people who are known to the owners and breeders. Indeed, the owners themselves may be victims. But it's still horrifying. So what I mean is it's less likely that strangers, members of the public will be attacked now, but there'll still be attacks in domestic settings, which is why I think it needs to go further. There needs to be strong caveats. There need to be banned, for example, on having these animals anywhere near children. I think people who are posting things like showing photographs of their bully XLs with young children, I think they should be investigated. Um, but the police need to act on this. I feel total disgust that people are paying with their lives and they're being mauled, having scars for life because of the stupidity, callousness, and selfishness of the owners. Now, you get some cases where unethical shelters are falsely promoting bully XLs as crossbreeds when they may well be pure XLs. Um, but another point, and I'll just close with this, the whole victimhood narrative coming out from the XL owners, their delusions, their victim blaming is one of the disgusting things they do. But the whole narrative of victimhood, save our bullies and all the rest of it, it's so utterly pathetic and it shows how selfish they are. But they're not victims because there's not a mass cull of these dogs. If they're wearing a muzzle in public, then they're within the law. So that's an important point. One of the lies that they've been telling is there's going to be a mass cull. That hasn't That's not the case. If they've got an exemption, then this is the thing that is very striking. For people that are supposedly so loving of their dogs, they were pretty lazy to actually, they had months to act on this. They had months to get exemptions, months to get muzzles. It's not like it happened overnight. So now they're whining about it and claiming that they're being victimized. I have no sympathy with them. In terms of the rehoming, I think shelters, I think some of them are unethical the way they're advertising this. Um, but clearly, as for breeding, I think that's the same as arms manufacture. I really do. I think breeders should be treated like drug dealers. I don't think I don't think they're good people. I think they're criminals. Um, and I think the whole thing is about this image of, you know, trying to be intimidating. I mean, these dogs are used for that purpose, really. Um, anyway, I feel so sickened and depressed by it. The ban is welcome, but I think it needs to go further. And I would like to see jail sentences for reckless dog owners, not just of XLs, of any dog owners. Um,